Hello, everyone, and welcome down to episode 54 of the Down South Photo Show with me, Brendan Waits, here in Ocean Grove, Victoria, Australia, and that guy over yonder on other screen, who is normally in Hobart, Tasmania, Australia. But today, Cameron Blake is coming to us from
a very stormy, wet, windy, cold, crazy Flinders Ranges.
Crazy.
It has been off the charts storming here all day.
Well, let's do it. Let's do a deep dive into that in a minute.
Right.
I want to know all about your background. I love that spot. You've shown me a photo from your.
Remember with the laptop, I can do this.
You can, yeah. So you've shown me, and I'll tell you what, I'll even make you full screen for the folks at home. Oh my goodness, the technology is going off the charts.
That's pretty good.
That's for people who are watching the podcast and not listening in their cars and being frustrated that they can't see the awesome background that Cam's now showing us.
How many times do you think people go, "Oh, for Christ's sake, guys, we can't see it. We're on a podcast."
That's right. I reckon every time.
I reckon $1 every time, we'd be fine.
Such a cool road.
That is a very cool road. So this is the Razorback view from the Flinders Ranges. So this is this morning. We had a really moody. This is the red sky in the morning shepherd's warning. There was a pretty big warning. So we had this morning. The ranges lit up nice with the Alpenglocken, as my cousin Daniel refers to them as. And it's just stunning. And we had these really wispy sort of stormy clouds coming in. And then after that, it all went, all hell broke loose. And we've had lightning, thunderstorm, flooding, you name it, we've had it. It's been really good. But that was from this morning. And
that's very cool.
Yeah, I might get you to do a big canvas of that one for me, maybe.
I think the color on the Flinders Ranges there is nuts.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine say, "Oh, turn the magenta down." I'm like, I haven't touched a magenta. It was it was a really, really weird, wacky sort of morning color that you can get on those crazy days. So all the guests got the shot. First sunrise of the trip was a cracker. It's going to be hard to beat. So
they've all gone home now. They've got their money worth and they're gone.
Pretty much. We've just finished dinner.
Nice.
We've almost practically cancelled tomorrow's sunrise because it's going to be a bit wet and drizzly in the morning.
Okay.
So yeah, we've had a pretty wild start to it. So we'll ease into the rest of it for the rest of the week.
Very, very cool.
And you've got a bit of Tassie action going on behind you.
Well, my background, for those of you playing along at home and who can see it, is that doesn't work. Let's try that. There we go. Now I'm going to smudge my lens again.
Yeah.
I don't know why I've blocked myself out because I'm not really blocking anything in that photo, so I'm going to come back.
That's better.
That's way better. That's just the spirit of Tasmania entering the heads down at Point Lonsdale, which is just 10k from my house. So whenever Cam goes past on that boat, also known as the Spirit of Spew,
it is the Spirit of Spew. Absolutely.
I always go down there and stare longingly at that vessel.
Hoping that you might see me wave from the porthole.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, did you come prepared with a cloth to clean your smudgy camera?
No, with a Fight MND beanie.
Oh, there you go. even better. Actually, I don't think I didn't fog mine.
No, you look good.
Yeah. I look good for someone who's a bit tired, but yeah, we're all good.
Well, I'm super excited to be talking to you from the Flinders Ranges. I think this is the first time we've done a live to workshop site podcast.
Well, we did Cradle Mountain a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, we did Cradle. This is true.
Yeah,
this is a whole other state, Cameron.
This is in. I'm now currently living in 1975. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's South Australia. Lovely. Hello to all our South Australian listeners who have just unsubscribed. That's fine.
Yeah, we have a tendency to insult other people without meetings, don't we?
So that's brilliant that you're getting all different kinds of weather conditions. That must help you on your workshop.
Yeah, it does. We've got a good group who are quite keen to already get out and get dirty, so to speak. So we had this sunrise this morning, and then we came back for brekkie, and then after brekkie, we thought, look, there's weather coming. Let's just go out and see what we got. And we actually went down the road. There was this one storm front that came through, and we got a classic shot of one of those old red sandstone churches that are in the middle of nowhere in the desert, with this beautiful storm front over the back with all these bits of light lighting the hill. So that was really cool. And then we headed around to another little track around that sort of heads towards the western side of the ranges. And that's where all hell broke loose. We had a storm come through. We got some lightning shots. We got lots of rumbling. We had a lot of fun. So, and then we came back. We had a little bit of time off this afternoon because it was just bucketing down. We decided to pop out for about an hour and a half before dinner, went down another track, went to this old homestead with these horse stables and things there, and then it all went crazy again. Some of our customers were actually with shots taken behind me. We went back there for we didn't know there was not going to be a sunset, but we went back there and we're standing there. There's this big storm coming through. We could hear it rumbling and started to rain. And two of the customers' hair was standing on end, like static electricity. We're like, all right, this is time to get the hell out of Dodge. We need to get this in this car and go now.
Yeah. Cam quickly flipped through his insurance policy and went, time to leave, everyone.
Yeah. Insurance policy is lightning strikes. No, it's not covered. Let's get in the bloody car and go. So, and then we had to drive back along some flooded dirt roads, which was a bit of fun. We've got 2 forward drives. Daniel was impressing his car of people with his forward driving skills, and I was just hanging on to the road as much as I could with road tires on. So then we came back, had dinner, and here we are. So it's been a massive first full day of this trip. It's been crazy.
Well, you've set the bar very high for those people listening who want to come on one of your workshops. So every time you go on a workshop, you're guaranteed to get some crazy weather. Isn't that right, Ken?
But that's what we aim for. We actually do aim to go and get some crazy shots. But gee, I tell you what, the drive up from Adelaide yesterday, the colour and the paddocks, like the greens and the...
How green is it? Yeah.
There is canola fields everywhere. So if anyone's watching who got a week off, come and get yourself up this way. There is fields of gold everywhere, and in between is fields of green. It's a really great time to get here. So
yeah. And if you're not prepared to drive all the way to South Australia, the Bellarine Peninsula currently has canola fields all over the place as well, where I am. So 'tis the season. In fact, I'm at the shop. I have it feels like every second customer has come in with a photo of themselves in a canola crop. Yeah, because I'm sure the farmers love it. How everyone tramples their canola fields for those.
Yeah, absolutely. And those signs on the fence saying "Stay out of the crops." Yeah, they're just props. They're not really mean. Feel free to jump and just stomp over someone's livelihood. It's okay.
About 5 years ago, here on the Bellarine, on the road between Geelong and Barwon Heads, a farmer planted a field of sunflowers.
What an idiot!
It was carnage. Like there was close calls. There was a couple of prangs. There was cars just lined up and people just ignoring fences and jumping and getting in amongst it. And the joint got completely trashed, completely trampled. Yeah. It was awful, really, but it was beautiful, but it was also awful.
Yeah, that's why we can't have pretty things, isn't it?
That's right.
Because people just destroy things. We can't have
nice things.
We were pretty good on our way up here. We stopped at the famous Cobb & Co. hut that was on the front of the Midnight Oil. That had a little canola field at the back of it, which was pretty cool. But we stay behind the fences. You can still get some great fence shots from on the right side of the fence near the road. But people just want to get over there and get that shot, don't they?
No, they do. That's it. They want to get amongst it.
You know what we did as well. We drove across here. Daniel and I drove across here on Sunday, I think it was, or Saturday. Almost rained from Melbourne to Adelaide nonstop.
Yes. Yeah, we've had so much rain, and I think it's been a constant theme through this podcast for the last few months. We keep talking about how much rain we've had.
Yeah.
Which, in some regards, being a landscape photography podcast is probably a good thing because it generally freshens everything up, and
absolutely,
you get less sort of haze in the air. Everything sort of settles down after a lot of rain, and it's all clean. So I went out and about during the week with my camera again, which was great. Went over to Swan Bay, which is only 15-20k from here. I've lived on the Bellarine Peninsula for 16 years, and it's the second time I've been to the Swan Bay jetty, which I don't know why. It's just one of those ones I just never normally get to. So I actually went there with the fam and the cameras, and we had a very similar experience to you today. Insofar as a massive thunderstorm came across while we were there, we were trying to cook sausages on the barbecue. That was interesting.
That's why it's
fun. Yeah,
so that was probably the storm that we sent to you, because it was heading actually that direction. It was making its way from us sort of southeast down towards you guys. So that's probably sent it to you.
Well, I've been looking at the weather forecast, and there's just bands of rain coming. Like I think any minute now it's going to start hammering here, which will be the stuff you got this afternoon. So it's going to head right across.
Which the second front we had was a lot worse than the first front we had. So we're not sure. There's some of the dirt roads through the gorges here I think are going to be closed tomorrow while they all dry out a bit. But it's full on.
So I just want to talk a little bit more about my background and people who can't see it. It's the Lonsdale jetty running down one side of the image, down the left-hand side of the image, and in the distance is the Spirit of Tasmania as it came across. I was actually there with my daughter, and we saw the Spirit coming in. I thought, I haven't really got a decent photo. And so what you're looking at here is my iPhone, one frame in
iPhone.
Yes, in live view, and then just hitting the long exposure function.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that. So you go into
so
your
you
camera.
got your camera there. Let's give a live tutorial. I'm going to give it to you right now, Cam. So just make I'll grab my phone as well, just so open your camera.
Yep.
So hang on a second. I'll do the same thing. And if you look up at the top, you should see the little live thing that shows that. So it's the top right hand little symbol.
Yeah, I got that now.
If you make sure that's active.
Yep, active.
All right. And if you were to take a photo that had any movement in it, so it's a bit hard where you are right now, but if you point your camera somewhere and take a photo, all right, any photo, doesn't matter.
I'll point at you and that.
Okay, I'll point it at you. Right. And then now tap so that photo you just took is on your screen. And you'll see top left, there's a little live that says live.
Yep.
Tap on that. And one of your options is long exposure.
Oh, I'm pressing a photo. It shows live and then it stops.
No. So
no,
you just have to tap it. If you tap the word live, it should be a drop-down menu. Anyway, we're doing.
Yeah, it didn't work for me.
This is riveting podcast stuff right here.
So if you're in photo, you tap to take a photo.
So there's
and then
there it is there. Have you got that little word live there? That's the photo I just took.
No, I don't.
No, this is you playing the photo back, not while it's actually on you, not in camera mode. You're in playback mode.
Oh yes, I am playing. Yes.
Now you can see the word live,
long exposure.
Bingo.
Yes.
There you go.
So what do I do now?
Well, if you had movement, if it was water moving or something through it, it would give you a long exposure image.
That's why your head's blurry.
I get it now. That's just natural, but there you go. So for those of you playing along at home, I just gave Cam a workshop on an iPhone. There you go. You learn something new every day.
You do. I won't ever use it probably. Actually, I will probably use it because
you will.
As I'm doing these workshops, I generally try and take some behind the scenes shots. And if we had that lightning today or the water running and stuff like that, would have been pretty cool. So,
I'll give you the tip. It's actually quite addictive, particularly if you're at the beach or if you've got a waterfall. Yeah. Because what you can actually do is use your phone as, kind of like a sketch pad, and you can take the photo and have a look and go, yeah, well, actually that composition works, and it works with the blurred water. So now I'll set my camera up, ND filter on, or in the case of your gear, dial up the ND filter setting. I have a question for you.
Cool.
And it relates to lightning, because you mentioned there were some lightning photos. Now I would imagine the lightning photos you were trying to capture today were happening during the day.
They were.
So
how the hell do you do that?
How did you go with that? Now I've got a feeling I know what you're going to say, but you say it anyway.
Well, we tried. There was quite a bit of lightning going on. Shooting lightning in the middle of the day is very tricky. So there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can try and we were getting those long streaks of lightning across the sky, so they were going for a good couple of seconds. So one of the options is you can hand hold that and just try and take a shot when it's in mid strike type of thing, and that worked for a few people. But what we ended up doing is setting up some tripods with neutral densities on the front to slow down that shutter speed. So we were, at the time, it was nuts. We were up there and we all looked at each other and went, "Oh wow, it's only lunchtime," and it looked like it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So we were getting, without any assistance from neutral densities, I think we were getting about like a 30th or a 40th of a second shutter speeds. It was still pretty dark, but when we put the neutral densities on, I think we were getting up to 10 seconds exposure then. So we dialed it up to f16, dropped our ISO down low to lose the sensitivity and get the shutter speed needing to be longer. I dialed in some neutral densities. Others put neutral densities on the front of their cameras, and we started just shooting 5-10 second shots over and over again until the lightning strikes came through. So I think most people got some strikes on their shots. One of our guests, Alan, showed me a shot before he got, which was really good. And we just had this almost a bit like the mountain range behind us, but closer, with lightning strikes and storm clouds over the back of it. So it was pretty epic.
That is very, very cool.
Yeah, we
Very,
wish
very cool.
it's going to be a pain in the ass this trip, because we've struck gold in the first day and a half of everything. And
That's
now
right.
we've got it. Now we're sort
Yeah.
of pushing. Now we're
Yeah.
pushing poo uphill to make it sure we get some other good shots. But
The pressure's on now.
the pressure. The good thing is we haven't really explored the gorge as much, where all the beautiful trees are and stuff like that. So I'm confident that we'll still kick off. But we're also doing a flight. We get on a full day flight Thursday up to William Creek and over Lake Eyre, which will have more water in it, which is great.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll work it out. But yeah, today was good, and it was a good little crash course lesson in how to shoot lightning.
Yeah.
We did some astrophotography. We had a perfect night last night. First night, we had clear skies in the core right above us.
Wow. Everyone will be back in their rooms, literally and figuratively recharging their batteries.
They are, and I had a few of them wanted to make a guest. They wanted to have a live audience behind me on this, and I went, absolutely no way are we doing a live audience on this. But so yeah, we're having a fairly early night tonight, and then we'll get into it tomorrow morning. So
that's very cool.
Yeah.
I just want to just backtrack a little bit for those of you listening who are newbies or beginners to photography, and you don't know what we're talking about when we're talking about lightning photos and giving yourself a long exposure time. So basically, when you're capturing lightning, it's not like you say, oh, there's a lightning strike, and try and take the photo, because that's impossible. So the idea is, as Cam said, tripod mounted and giving yourself a longer exposure time. So literally what you're doing is you're casting a wide net time-wise. So you can have a 10-second exposure, like Cam was saying, but 10-second exposures are really difficult during the day, because obviously the scene's going to be overexposed. And that's when we talk about the neutral density filter, which cuts back how much light enters the camera. So it makes it look like it's an evening or a late night shot. And then when the lightning strikes, it'll literally just paint in that bright area of light against the dark scene. Ideally, the best time to take lightning photos is if you happen to luck out and get a storm come through at night. Here in Ocean Grove, we're really lucky. Through summer, we get the weather pattern is such that it'll send storms normally offshore, just off Barwon Heads, and they end up over the beach of Ocean Grove. And there's a couple of lookout spots where you can set up. So it's funny though. Having said that, I've got zero good lightning photos. And it's hard, man.
Yeah, it is. I reckon. Just saying that today as well, like getting lightning shots, and getting them good is really quite tricky, unless you're ultra dedicated to traveling around the country or the world where the storms happen regularly. But it's a good one to have in your repertoire of skills, that if you know how to shoot them and what to do, if a storm does come through and it's the right time and timing and light, you can sort of get away and try and do it. We were talking today as well. We also tried on our Olympus cameras to do. There's a few Olympus guys here to do the live composite. So where you take,
I was going to ask you about live comp.
Where you take one frame as a base frame, and then it adds any extra light to that frame that is added every minute or every second or whatever you want to do. And we did that, but because it was still quite bright, you've still got to be able to have that exposure at the right point to do it. So it didn't work as well as what we hoped. And what it also did is the clouds started looking like blocks moving. It has had a bit of a funny effect on that. So that was something we learned today that didn't work. So, but the good thing was we thought on our feet. We thought, okay, that's not working. We've got tripods, we've got neutral densities. We're in a safe spot. No one's hair standing on end at the moment. But let's stand there and take some shots. So
I found that exact same thing with live comp when I first had my EM5 Mark II years ago. I was down the Great Ocean Road, and I had really good success with it, doing long exposure stuff with cars' headlights and tail lights through a scene. There's a couple of places on the Great Ocean Road which are perfect. They're big corners that sweep around. The cars almost look like they're disappearing into the ocean. That's so cool. And that worked really well. But exactly what happened to you happened to me, and that is you get that blockiness of any other movement during the day. So that was quite tricky.
And it looks. Be honest, it looks crap. Like it doesn't look really.
No, it doesn't work for lightning.
No, and it doesn't look like you can do those long exposures where you get the wispy clouds like I've got here. That look nice with the long exposure, but because it's adding things on each time, it's sort of adding them at different intervals, so it's not a free flowing exposure type of thing, so it doesn't look great. So we can that idea, but we've been lucky to get these lightning shots. I haven't looked at mine yet, but I've had a quick look, and there's a couple there with some bolts hitting the mountains and stuff like that. So pretty cool.
That's very, very cool. Which kind of we're already a fair way into the podcast, but it kind of leads us into our main-ish topic that we were going to talk about tonight. And we've already started talking about it, which is how far is too far to go for a photograph.
Yeah, that's right.
And you've experienced that firsthand today.
I have experienced it firsthand today. We have been sitting on mountains, and yeah, we've been sort of watching lightning storms come over and things happening like that. So
So you're a bit of a risk taker. Last week's episode, if you listen back to that, you're
well, that's where that topic came from. That last week
Yeah.
we're on the side of Mount Anne, scaling down the bloody nighttime with head torches and no actual bloody someone lost their glasses off their head, like actual sight glasses. But today, yeah, we were standing on some mountains, and it was actually a really good conversation to have when we were there tonight, because like I said, the two girls in the group, their hair was literally on end. It's like they were touching one of those electric ball things that you get at Science Works.
A Van de Graaff generator.
What? A Van de Graaff? How do you bloody know that? A Van de Graaff
Mate,
generator.
If you could get inside here and use it for good instead of evil.
Oh,
I don't know how I remember that, but that's from science in like year 9, the Van de Graaff generator.
Wow. Okay. Well, one of those, but yeah, it sort of sparked the question again. Like, I'm running a workshop here. Obviously, people's safety is paramount. You don't want to put people in danger, but if we stay there another 5 minutes, do we get the most epic photo of a storm we've ever got, or do we run the risk of getting hit by lightning, or something dangerous happening to us? So, I think it's a really good topic to talk about with landscape photography. Is like, how far do you push it to get a shot? And I'm of the opinion, if you're on your own, then you obviously, we've all got responsibilities with family and friends and work and stuff like that, where you don't want to be hurting yourself, or even worse, dying out there. But like, when I'm on my own, I find I'll go that little couple of extra meters longer or further to see if I can get that shot. But when you're with a group or friends, or running a trip or a business like this, you've really got to have it in the forefront of your mind as to, okay, just how far do we push everyone here? Managing one person's fine, but managing 6 or 7 is a completely different ball game.
Absolutely. Particularly when you've got other people to worry about, then it changes things, doesn't it?
Yeah, and especially like for today, we're all standing there with metal tripods. Even where this view is, there's like a metal rope off section. It's got these big giant metal poles with wires running through it. It's like we're just destined to get struck by lightning.
Didn't help that cousin Daniel had a rabbit trap around his head, swinging
No,
it
it doesn't help that cousin Daniel is here holding tripods up in to try and direct the lightning to him,
and grabbed out a 5-iron and
like at a Caddyshack.
That's right. That would have been an epic photo.
Well, him frying under lightning would have been awesome.
Yeah. Well, my take generally when it comes to that sort of stuff, how far would you go for a photo? Well, I would go so far as I will risk my gear, but I won't risk my life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Totally. So case in point, years ago, this is back in film days in the late 90s, I had my then brand new Nikon F80, which cost about $1,200 in 1996 or whenever it was. And it was the second day I had it, and I was down on the rocks at Noosa Heads, and I got, there's some big swell coming through, and the old bravado sort of came, I'll get a good shot of this. Went out, started taking photos, and within about 30 seconds, I was swallowed whole by a wave that luckily didn't wash me off the rocks. But the camera was toast. Brand new camera. It was not even a roll of film old, and it was submerged in salt water. So I learned very, very quickly then. But nowadays, for example, like with a drone and stuff like that, I reckon I'd put my drone in some pretty precarious positions before to get the shot.
And it's because you're not attached to it. That's why you're
true.
You're in a safe zone.
The
drone
and to that end, cameras on tripods where you can run them with an app and Wi-Fi. There's almost nowhere I wouldn't put a camera nowadays at the risk of completely losing it to get the shot.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And we were talking about that today, how, with the lightning, we said, well, you could always leave your camera out there, sit in the car and just fire off in the safety of the car.
Yeah.
But I think it's just having a look over the last sort of 5 to 10 years with where people have gone for photos, where people stand, people standing on, the edge of cliffs and things like that. I think it's a really important topic to talk about with people, who may watch the show or love their photography, is you've really got to do the risk assessment before you go and take that photo. Like, that light might be crazy, or that shot might be amazing, that might never happen again, but you know, if you're not there to appreciate the shot and show it to everyone else, then, you know, what's the point of doing it? So you've really got to be, and that's the thing I've found. I think it's a wisdom and an age thing. The older I get, the less risks I seem to take. Having said that, the last 2 weeks have been pretty risky, but I think it's something that you just sort of get with age, that, okay, you know what, this photo is really not worth it. And, you know, like I said, you see it all the time, people jumping barriers and doing stuff, and you see it on the news, the tragic people have fallen off cliffs from trying to do stuff. So my advice to people is, you know, take your photo, get the one you want. But if you're like you said, if you're putting yourself at risk, you can't be replaced. Gear can be replaced, it can be insured, whatever. But for the love of God, don't go too far and too crazy to get that shot, because it's not really worth it.
No, exactly. And it covers a lot of different areas that we talk about a lot, like waterfalls, for example. Like the amount of times I've seen people slip on rocks trying to get a photo, and they can be fatal, man. So you gotta be nice and careful out there.
Yeah. So and like I said, all our workshops that we do here, and I'm sure we're same with you when you do yours, is, you know, we have a safety talk about it. You know, let's stay on the track, let's do this, be mindful of this. It's wet and slippery, just be careful. You've got to have those safety checks with yourself as well when you're out there. You know, try and get in the habit. I do as well. I try and get in the habit of, if I'm going somewhere, I do a safety check in my head. It's like, okay, do I really need to go across there? That looks pretty sketchy. There's a bit of a drop on that side. It's really windy, or there's a storm coming. Do I need to be there? Like tonight, even when we were taking the last shots, I was contemplating taking the group a bit further down behind this road here to a little gorge there, but knowing that the road was getting flooded, knowing that the cars were going to have to get back up that hill in slippery conditions, I thought, you know what, we'll do it another day. You know, it's not worth it. And, you know, yes, you know, customers have maybe missed out on maybe a nice shot with some wet trees and stuff, but we'll get them tomorrow, get them the next day. It's just not worth it. So don't do it, folks, if you don't have to.
I'll tell you another one to keep an eye on as well, particularly for those of you who are into your beach scenes and things like that, is the tide. Yes. Even here in Ocean Grove and Barwon Heads, the tides come in pretty quick, and I can be, you know, out set up with my tripod taking photos and just completely oblivious to what's going on around you, and then you turn around and go, oh, whoops, I've got to now wade through knee-deep water, and sometimes worse just to get back. I got caught out one time at Wilton's Promontory as well, at Tidal River, ironically enough.
Right. And that's a lesson. I think you learn that as a kid as well. Don't turn your back on the ocean.
Yeah, that's right.
And like some of the pings you see, like I don't do much coastal stuff, but sometimes people are just like this, just jumping through rocks to get across the other side that are wet, slippery, covered in moss or whatever. It's like, dude, you're gonna fall over and crack your head open.
I think I'm gonna have to do the rest of the podcast like this.
You reckon?
Well, then I haven't got my back to the ocean.
Well, that's right. Yes, you won't. You won't be able to turn around. That's a better angle. That's a better angle for you.
Well, you get my bald spot a lot more anyway. So there you
go. The solar panel.
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, you know, that's everywhere you go. You know, it doesn't. There's danger everywhere. But having said that, you know, you don't need to be a prune either. Like, you know, get out there and get into the weather and explore. You know, go and explore some places that you may not normally explore. But just have those, you know, have the good, evil and good angel on your shoulder. One saying don't do it, one saying do it.
That's right.
Just listen to the safety one. That's the one to go with.
No, exactly. And remember, put your gear at risk at all costs. Just you can buy another. You can always get another camera. It's only money. Don't worry about it. That's it. Fine.
That's what insurance is for.
We're not going to do a super long podcast tonight because Cam's out on location, and look at him. He looks tired already. But that's okay.
I'm not sure. I'm hoping this is recording on Zoom as well, because my audio has stopped, Brendan, on the other thing. So
it'll be recording just fine, Cam. You'll be totally
awesome.
Fine.
I had a bit of a moment there. I'm like, don't tell me we're just talking for this for no reason, because that would
Well, we may be. No, it's totally fine.
Excellent.
I wanted to do tip of the week, then we'll do a quick dear Cam.
Where's your jingle?
I don't know. I still haven't. Hang on. There it was. You didn't hear it. The wonders of.
No, there is no way in hell that you put a jingle on over that.
I wonder how I could do that. Anyway, I'll work it out. My tip of the week this week is firmware updates. Nice and simple.
Yes.
A lot of you listening are going, what the hell are you talking about, Brendan? Well, firmware update.
What's firm? What's firm all about?
What do you want about? So your camera has an operating system on it, just like your PC does, your laptop, your computer,
and your phone. And your phone. Everything has an operating system. So there's hardware and software. And the great thing about cameras is when you buy that camera, it has a certain level of software on it known as the firmware that runs the camera. And most camera manufacturers will put out a firmware update quite regularly. They will. Yeah.
So for example, when a new camera comes out, it's all been thoroughly tested by the manufacturer. It gets out into the field, and then someone discovers, hang on a minute, did you know that at ISO 400, when you point it at an incandescent light, it gets banding? Something like that.
Didn't know that.
They will then release a firmware update that'll fix that glitch. But sometimes firmware updates actually go a lot further, and they will actually give you the latest version of the software. So for example, you might have a Canon 600D, then they release the Canon 700D. You can then update the firmware on your camera on your 600D to give you most of the features that the 700D, of course, it's not going to give you a bigger sensor or anything like that, but the actual software that runs the camera, firmware updates are really useful. The other thing that firmware updates can do is also correct things like if your lenses aren't quite autofocusing as well as they used to, they can correct stuff like that.
You mean like Nikon and Canon cameras?
Generally Canon, actually.
Generally Canon, yeah. I got told today at dinner. Someone said, "Geez, you hang a lot of shit on Canon." I'm like, they said, "Why don't you bleep the brand name out?" I'm like, "We don't want to bleep. Why? Who's gonna sue us? Seriously."
That's right. Yeah, Mr. Canon won't be sponsoring this show anytime soon.
Tell you what, that would be the ultimate irony, wouldn't it, if they did? Talking of firmware updates,
I shoot Canon, by the way.
Yeah, we can't all be perfect. A couple of things with firmware. One, when the Olympus cameras came out, when they brought those neutral densities and high res modes and stuff like that, they upgraded the firmware update in one of the, I think it was the Mark III.
Yes.
So you practically got all the features of the brand new camera minus the new sensor and stuff like that, but all the cool features are really cool. But two, I'm not sure if you mentioned it, because it's actually getting really windy outside here. It's getting a bit wild, which is pretty cool. Awesome. I think Daniel's over here getting a bit scared. He's telling me that it's getting a bit windy. So I think his hair's going to get messed up. But with the firmware, they generally done, there's a couple ways. A lot of them you can do like wireless now. Sometimes you got to put it on a USB and plug it into your computer and do it. And other times you can put it on like an SD card, put it in and load it in. So check your manual for that as to what you need to do. But they generally give you pretty good instructions.
So the most common way is through an SD card. You download the firmware to an SD card and then upload the firmware. But the artist formerly known as Olympus, you plug it in you tether your camera to your PC or laptop and do it that way.
You don't
Wi-Fi now?
It's done through the app.
There you go.
Get out of town. I know the artist formerly known as
just kicking goals.
Why is everyone not just shooting Olympus? Let's just be done with it. Just get it. OM Digital. Just go get one. And
this podcast is brought to you by the good folks at OM Digital.
What did Daniel say today about the Olympus cameras? He said the OM1, he borrowed one of my OM1s and he came up with the best catchphrase of all time. He should be working for Olympus, but he's taken some photos. He's taken some good ones. He's not bad, young Daniel.
Well, if it can turn Daniel into a photographer.
Yeah, I know. If it can turn him into a photographer, God knows I can turn anyone into a photographer.
Dear Cam, episode 54, Dear Cam. G'day, gents. I was wondering if you could answer this one. We're going to certainly try. This is from Jamie in Bateman's Bay.
Nice part of the world, Bateman's Bay.
Isn't it a lovely part of the world? Nice for photography there.
Yeah.
He asks, are high-end lenses worth the extra money for enthusiast photographers like myself? I'm not a pro, but I do love my photography. I'm considering upgrading to a couple of L series lenses, speaking of Canon, for my Canon R7. R7 is a very nice piece of kit. Thoughts? Question mark. Over to you, Mr. Blake.
So we had a phrase when we were working in Camera House many years ago, and we still do, that don't spend your money on bodies, invest in glass, because that's where your quality comes from. Sharpness, quality, focus, autofocus speeds, all that kind of stuff, coatings, all in that lens is where you should be putting your money. So if he's already got an R7, well, he's doing okay. I would, what happens to this day and age as well, I notice it a lot on workshops as well, is that people have a lot of the top end cameras already. Like they just go top shelf straight off the mark, even if they're starting out or amateur or whatever, but they go top shelf straight away. So my thoughts are for Jamie that if he's got enough money to buy an R7, then you've got enough money to go buy the pro lenses as well. So I would say if you've got the funds to buy a top end camera, you got to buy the top end lenses. If you're on a budget and you're buying an entry level camera, then I think the kit lenses will do a damn good job for what you need until you start evolving in your photography journey. That's when you might go and upgrade to a more pro lens or maybe a pro body as well. But I would say to Jamie, then if you've got the ability to have an R7 and you're obviously keen and you want to get into it, then have a look at the L series lenses. I know what Brendan's going to say. I reckon there is a hell of a good secondhand market for L series lenses and Canons and Nikons and things like that. So you might be able to get yourself a bit of a cheaper secondhand lens that's still in great condition. But I would say if you've got the means, you can always, always get the best lens you can for what you can. If you don't, then you build up to it as you go along.
Yeah, I would absolutely echo what you've just said there. Couple of extra points I'd throw in is, in particular, Canon's L series and Nikon's ED series and their the nano coated lenses that Nikon. What do Nikon call their lenses? What's their equivalent L series? Like Olympus
rubbish,
have got
I think.
Olympus have got Zuko lenses. Canon have got L series. Nikon have got what?
Nikon, they're the ED lenses, aren't they?
ED, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which was
extra low dispersion.
Extra low dispersion, exactly. What a boring. Anyway, they generally hold their value really well. So
yeah, they do.
Although yes, there is a good secondhand market out there for L series. Don't be shy to actually buy a new one, because you'll probably find it's only 10% more to get a brand new one. So
you know what Jamie might have also thrown us? He might have also thrown us a curveball there, because the R7 is a different mount.
Yes, it is.
It's the mirrorless mount. So if you can,
and I'm here to tell you that the EF to R series adapter is a peach. It's absolutely brilliant, and it's like $180.
I've heard some absolute horror stories about the Nikon Z series and their adapter.
Okay.
Where it's not a peach. It's far from it.
It's a turd.
Speaking of peaches, on our trip here, we have an ex-peach farmer. We have a gentleman on this trip who used to farm peaches.
Why not?
Random fact.
Thank you. Takes all sorts. I like it. If you have a Dear Cam question, I think we answered that sufficiently, didn't we? If you have a Dear Cam question,
I'd say Jamie's already gone and bought the L series lenses before we answered.
I reckon he's out there. He's gone to he's come to Camera and Photo. Oh, that was Jamie on the phones before. If you have a Dear Cam question, hit us up in the links below, or head to our new shiny brand new website, which doesn't exist yet. It's coming.
I was going to say, there's some sort of shock news that you've got a website together.
Drop that on you. Cam, we know what you're up to for the rest of the week. You're going to be at the Flinders Ranges for there for 5 days. Is that right?
Yeah, we finish here on Saturday, is our last day. So today's Tuesday. I've got a few more days to go. Like, we're only just starting, which is crazy.
Yep.
So yeah, I'll be back in Melbourne on Sunday, probably back down to Tassie early next week, and then got a bit of a week off before we go to BFOP.
Right.
Sorry.
By the time this comes out, you'll be back in Melbourne. Well, no, you'll be on your last day at the Flinders Ranges, and then
by the time this comes out, we will be on our last evening here, hopefully doing a sunset somewhere. And I got a bit of stick from a couple of guests here as well. We just can't skip episodes anymore, mate. I don't know about you, but I seem to cop it that if they miss an episode Friday.
You've got a minute. Let's just mention a couple of things about the channel and what's been going on. So on YouTube alone, it's now hit 14,500 views, which is pretty cool. But I haven't watched that many, I don't think. I did a bit of a deep dive into the analytics, and
right, that's dangerous.
We have so clearly the vast majority of our listeners are from God's own country, Australia. However, looking through the list, we have now reached somewhere around 42 countries, listeners in 42 different countries.
42 different countries listen to us.
42. We have the United States is the second most listened to, Indonesia, Pakistan. We have listeners in Turkey.
Are these the ones from the live show?
No, but a lot of we've got listeners in France. We've got listeners in Japan, which is very
konnichiwa.
Cool.
Konnichiwa, bonjour. Well, do we have to start?
Arigato.
Do we have to start subtitling episodes?
Germany. So we've got people, and of course the UK,
Scotland.
Scotland.
There's some great people in Scotland.
So if you're from OS and you're not from the land down under, leave a comment for us. We love all our commenters. We do have regular commenters who get down into the comments all the time, but we want to see some new blood down there. So jump on down, leave a comment. Let us know where you're listening from. We'll give you a shout out on the show next week.
I'm going to give a shout out to a friend of mine who's in the UK at the moment, Cheryl, who's originally from Perth, but she's over visiting family in the UK. And boy, did she pick a time to go to the UK to visit her family.
Wow, yeah.
So she's been hiding in the forest. She's a lovely macro photographer. We have mentioned her on the show before, but she's in the forests, taking photos, staying away from the crowds. So, but yeah, if you're overseas, America, Germany, Switzerland, Scotland, wherever you are, give us a shout out. Say g'day to us in your natural tongue. We might learn some different languages or some different words.
Absolutely.
Or even post a photo on the Down South Photo Show Facebook page of your backyard. I'd love to see where people live around the world. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be very cool. And furthermore, if you've got a scene that you've been wanting to photograph but need some advice on how you might go around it, send us a shot. We'd love to see it. That'd be cool.
Yeah. And
we'll give advice on the fly.
I'll go one step bigger than that. If we've got anyone who listens who knows how to do a jingle for Tip of the Week.
Yes. If you can record a jingle for Tip of the Week, it's going into the show. That would be very, very cool.
And if you like just something like Tip of the Week, but just like something corny.
But something better.
Yeah, something better that has Tip of the Week in there. So no, Daniel, we won't be putting that on the podcast, you naughty boy. Sit back down.
Dear Cam? We need a Dear Cam jingle as well.
That could just be a fart or something.
Well, it's true. Cam, thank you for joining us from the Flinders Ranges. Greatly appreciated your efforts. And we will see you guys next week on episode 50. What was this one? This was 54. We will see you for episode 55 next week. Yeah. Bye-bye. I know you've got something else to add. I was just going to say, don't get struck by lightning. That was my out. Don't get struck by lightning. See you guys. Thanks.